mynews.studio.
Picture this. In a quiet hospital room, a 7-year-old girl hears her mother's voice for the very first time. It raises a big question. Can gene therapy really bring sound to those born deaf?
Today is July 4th, 2025. We're diving into a new development in gene therapy that's actually restoring hearing for people born deaf, specifically those with OTOF gene mutations. The OTOF gene produces otoferlin, which is essential for transmitting sound signals in the inner ear.
Yes, and until recently, if someone was born without functional otoferlin, there was simply no way for them to process sound. So researchers at Karolinska Institutet, together with hospitals in China, started a clinical trial. They enrolled 10 patients, from 1-year-olds to young adults in their 20s, all missing this key gene function.
Let's talk about the treatment itself. They used an adeno-associated virus, AAV, to carry a working copy of the OTOF gene. This was injected directly into the inner ear. And just to clarify, targeting the inner ear is crucial, right? Because that's where the defect is.
Exactly. By going straight to the source, the treatment can address the underlying problem. After just one injection, most patients showed significant improvement within a month. The numbers are pretty compelling. Before treatment, patients could only hear sounds above 106 decibels. That's about as loud as a jet engine. 6 months later, their threshold dropped to 52 decibels, which is around normal conversation level.
That's quite a shift. Did every patient see this kind of improvement, or was there variability in the response?
Good question. The most pronounced gains were in the younger children, especially those between ages 5 and 8. For example, that 7-year-old girl regained almost full hearing and now has regular conversations. But adults also improved, which is notable since there's often doubt about whether older brains can adapt as well.
What about side effects? Gene therapy always brings up concerns about safety.
The side effects so far have been mild. Some patients experienced a temporary drop in their neutrophil count. That's a type of white blood cell, important for fighting infections. But there were no severe adverse events during the 6 to 12-month follow-up.
So overall, the safety profile looks acceptable, but this was a small group. When it comes to scaling up, what are the main obstacles, especially for people in areas with limited resources?
That's one of the biggest challenges. The procedure relies on advanced surgical facilities. You need trained specialists, proper operating rooms, and the gene therapy itself needs to be kept cold. Difficult in places where electricity or reliable transport aren't guaranteed. And then there's the cost. Gene therapies are expensive.
And there's also the question of regulatory approval. Some countries move quickly, others take much longer. It's not just about the science. There are layers of logistics and policy involved.
Plus, even after patients receive the therapy, they need long-term monitoring. Researchers are tracking hearing ability, speech recognition, and quality of life. Regular audiometric tests and checkups are part of the process. It's definitely not a one-time fix.
That ongoing observation is really important. We're still within a year of the first treatments. What if side effects show up later, or if the benefits fade over time?
That's why continued data collection is so important. But so far, the improvements seem to last. And the technique, using AAV vectors to deliver genes, could have applications beyond hearing, maybe for certain eye conditions or even neurological disorders.
So the takeaways here go beyond deafness. Early intervention matters, but adults can still benefit. Safety can be managed, and international teamwork really makes a difference.
Right, and it's important to remember, over 400 million people worldwide live with disabling hearing loss. If we can scale this technology up, the effect could be far-reaching.
Still, access is a big question. Who will actually pay for this? That's bound to be a major discussion as these treatments leave the research stage and enter everyday healthcare.
It really brings up a larger issue. If we can restore a lost sense, what else might become possible? And how do we make sure these breakthroughs aren't limited to just a few people?
So this isn't only a story about hearing. It's about the direction medicine is heading, about fairness, and about what happens when advances move quickly but need society to catch up.
A child hearing her mother's voice for the first time is not just a personal milestone. It could mark a turning point for medicine as a whole.
Thanks for joining us as we explored how gene therapy is moving from science fiction to clinical reality.
Thank you for listening. This episode was brought to you by mynews.studio. You can try it now for free.